Commander Zephyra's tentacles trembled as she stared at the holographic display showing the approaching fleet. The sleek vessels moved through space with predatory grace, their dark hulls reflecting the distant stars like polished obsidian. She had seen nothing like them in her 40 cycles of service with the Galactic Peacekeeping Coalition. "How many?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper in the bridge's recycled atmosphere. 57 capital ships, Commander," reported her navigation officer, his amphibian features pale with fear. "All unknown configuration. They're heading straight for the Corvani system." Zephyra's mind raced back to 3 Standard, days ago when the desperate transmission had reached Coalition headquarters. The Corvani, a peaceful trading species known for their exquisite crystalline artwork, had sent out a system-wide distress call. The hegemony, a ruthless militaristic empire from the Outer Rim, had invaded their worlds with overwhelming force. The Coalition's nearest fleet was weeks away, too far to provide meaningful assistance. That's when someone had suggested contacting the humans, those strange bipedal creatures from the death world they called Earth. Most Coalition species considered them an oddity, a species that had somehow evolved on a planet so hostile that it should have been uninhabitable. Their world was racked by violent weather, tectonic instability, and gravity nearly twice the galactic standard. The few humans who had joined the Coalition were viewed with a mixture of fascination and unease. Zephyra had personally opposed the decision to send the distress signal to human space. They were newcomers, barely 50 years since first contact. What could they possibly do that the Coalition's advanced fleets could not? Now, watching their war fleet approach the Corvani system with impossible speed, she was beginning to understand. "Her mistake! Commander, we're receiving a transmission," her communications officer announced, his voice cracking with nervousness. "Put it through!" The holographic display shifted, revealing a human face that made Zephyra's respiratory organs constrict. The creature's features were sharp and angular, with small, predatory eyes that seemed to pierce through the transmission. Most unsettling were the human's teeth, pointed canines that spoke of an evolutionary history as a hunter species. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Navy," the human said, her voice carrying an undertone of barely restrained violence. "We received your distress call regarding the Corvani situation. We're here to help." Zephyra found her voice. "Admiral Chen, I am Commander Zephyra of the Coalition vessel Harmony's voice. We appreciate your response, but the hegemony has deployed over 200 warships. Your fleet, while impressive, seems outnumbered?" Admiral Chen's lips curved in what Zephyra had learned was called a smile, though it looked more like a predator baring its teeth. "Commander, you clearly don't understand how humans approach warfare." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Hours later, as Zephyra watched from the edge of the system, she witnessed something that would haunt her dreams for cycles to come. The human fleet didn't engage the hegemony forces in traditional formation combat. Instead, they scattered like a pack of hunters, each ship moving with terrifying independence. The hegemony, accustomed to facing coalition forces that relied on defensive formations and minimal casualties, found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to embrace destruction. Human ships dove through enemy formations with reckless abandon, their weapons systems designed not for precision strikes, but for maximum devastation. "By the void," whispered her tactical officer, watching as a single human destroyer somehow managed to disable 3 hegemony cruisers in a maneuver that should have been suicide. "They're fighting like they don't care if they die." But that wasn't quite right, Zephyra realized. The humans weren't careless with their lives. They were simply willing to risk everything to protect others. Each seemingly reckless maneuver was calculated, executed with the precision of a species that had fought wars of extinction on their own world and survived. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the hegemony fleet was either destroyed or in full retreat. Not a single Corvani civilian had been harmed. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the display again, this time bearing the marks of battle, a cut across her forehead and exhaustion in her eyes. "Commander Zephyra, the system is secure. My medical teams are already deploying to assist with Corvani casualties." "Admiral," Zephyra began, struggling to find words. "Your losses. How many ships did you—" "We lost 11 vessels," Chen replied, matter-of-factly. 437 crew members gave their lives today, but the Corvani are safe, and that's what matters. The casual way the human discussed such massive casualties sent chills through Zephyra's exoskeleton. The Coalition would have considered such losses catastrophic, unacceptable, but to the humans, it was simply the cost of doing what was right. As the human fleet began rescue operations, Zephyra finally understood why the other species whispered about the Deathworlders in hushed tones. It wasn't just their technology or their tactics that made them formidable. It was their willingness to sacrifice everything for strangers they had never met. The Coalition had regretted sending that distress call to human space, fearing it would complicate an already delicate situation. But watching Admiral Chen coordinate relief efforts with the same intensity she had shown in battle, Zephyra realized that sometimes the galaxy needed someone willing to fight with the fury of a Deathworld species. The humans had answered the call, and the Corvani were free. In the end, perhaps that was all that mattered.